أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Well, Mr. Chairman and distinguished members of the National Working Committee of SDP, and members of my entourage, I call them family members. SDP
Progress!
Progress.
SDP!
This is the first time I'm sounding this slogan.
Case closed.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, before I start, I love to remain a student of nature. Nature from the point of view of the direction given from the holy books of our Creator. There are 4 holy books given to mankind so far. But figures have built a science that nobody can break. And mankind is still a nursery student from the capacity God has given to him. The last time I was in this headquarters, where I met some of our brothers, and then virtually everybody was there at the invitation of the chairman. And then we discussed. I remember my last sentence. What is 7? That was exactly the last thing I said. Last. Mr. Chairman, I am puzzled. Why this invitation? Why today? And what is today? We have to, there is something truly from your tower of wisdom that you are keeping away from us. And thank God, we are curious enough to always see through. Consciously or unconsciously, today is completely 7, unknown to people. I asked for 7, and today is 7. Let's do this arithmetic. 13, 1 plus 3. 1 plus 3.
4.
The month of March plus 3. 7.
7. Yes.
Plus the year, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5. 9. 9 plus 7. 16. 1 plus 6.
7.
That's today. One may ask, why today? And why always an ordinary day? Who can remember the last time we were here? What day was it? What day of the week was it? And Youth Day was on what? Which day of the week? The day. So before you browse, I continue. You see, today has numerous meaning to me. Minus the invitation of my brother, my friend, my confidant, and chairman. Today, exactly 2011, I was in detention. I was in detention as a condemned person in a game that is too huge to narrate. Exactly on the 13th of Ramadan, I lost my mother. It was around 10:30, I think, 11 in the morning. And so when I spoke to the chairman in response to the invitation, the agreement was initially, and I'm quoting what he said, I'm inviting you to come over for discussions as a family, if you can make it from around 11, 12. He didn't know what was in my mind. I said 12. He said 12. 12 for 1. 12 for 1. Agreed, no objection. Well, thank God Almighty, here we are. But I know God Almighty watches and He guides the steps of mankind without Him knowing. There were things we did without knowing, and we were on the right path. 13 years now away ago, exactly at Ramadan period like this, I was busy feeding fellow detainees, particularly those condemned. And I was also working with lawyers for them to be free. Because unless you are in prison, you will not value.
That chair here for National Women League.
You will not value Nigerians.
Yes, sir.
You will not value the difference between the abuses. Detention.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Unless you have seen those who were deprived of freedom, you will not value Nigerians or mankind generally. So here, in SDP, you have led MK Abiola, whose freedom was taken after the struggle. You have me, who defended him to the last minute, who was blackmailed, called names, to be worse than, I don't know who was the most hated person in Nigeria, but so much was spent on me, because even my family were to disown me, because I was called in one of the magazines in a game sponsored, calling me the devil himself. And the person that was sponsoring that is an elder Nigerian that I know of. But then the tales of the unexpected that destroyed Nigeria that he played roles in, I think are known to be among the dirtiest on earth. He had no freedom to talk. He had all the latitude to continue with the blackmail himself and his team. I was classified dead 18 times in 15 years. But the question I still ask myself, where am I? Who is he? The persecutors. Where is Nigeria? What happened to the truth? What is the name of the game called Nigeria? What is the depth of the rot that has enveloped Nigeria? Are the elites actually capable? Are the elites in Nigeria aware of where Nigeria is? Do we know Nigeria? Have we evaluated Nigeria to know the problems with us? It is true, we are classified amongst, if we are to be the real people God has created to manage the resources in our country, to be among the first 10 in the world. But unfortunately, just late last year, an evaluation of Nigerian state classified Nigeria as the 10th poorest. And Niger, our next door neighbor, that was nowhere near Nigeria, was classified as the 11th poorest. So we are next door to them. What's our size? And what is the size of the resources God Almighty has given to us? These are numerous questions in thousands. There are thousands of questions lying down without answers, including our history that we have been deceived of. The roles of the real international termites holding hands together with our elders in Nigeria in destroying Nigeria have been a game going on. Unfortunately, if only the government has cared to say, from the complaints coming from the poor, we shall have a retreat sincerely and in the name of God with the fear of God Almighty, in knowing where the state of Nigeria is. An evaluation that should be presented to the fore to know the depth of the damage done to the main fabric of Nigeria. Really, the soul of Nigeria is far, far, far below the expectations of the understanding of any human. And they are happily, by the day, inflicting more pains in destroying the country. believing that what they have stolen is their world. And so long they can have, let the 200 million plus die. That's exactly where we are. Many of you may not understand from the point of view some of us are talking. When we were young in this service, government comes and goes. We were the ones that were sent to arrest the bulk of those whom the governments of the time that then believed were destroyers of Nigeria. So if we are to go on personality data profiling of the elders of Nigeria, particularly who have dealt with Nigeria and still identifying themselves as holier than thou group, then definitely the elites in Nigeria are blinded. But to us, we are seen through from the opportunities God gave us in arresting them and being privy to the contents of the interrogations that brought them to detention. When another season comes, they regain their freedom, only for them to come back to the same spots of destruction of Nigeria's resources. That has been the history. That's why Nigeria's history is faulty. Before independence, at independence, after independence, the first coup, there are thousands of questions that are not captured in history deliberately, so that younger ones coming up will just be building on empty foundations that are nothing but lies, that cannot stand. That's why when you carefully examine Nigeria and know the resources of Nigeria, and begin to see poverty everywhere, and begin to see the crime everywhere, and when you see dirty budget politics, and when as a citizen and as a patriot, you sit and examine Nigeria at the end of the year, you begin to ask yourself, where were the trillions that were just budgeted? You can't see the traces of it on our streets, nor in any institution, nor in institutions. Instead, what you see scientifically is the multiplying effect of poverty, biting hard everywhere. The question is, who are we? What is the name of this country? What are the names of these people who are in all seasons? They are the active termites destroying Nigeria. Are they still around? Are they still playing games? Are they still in that game of destruction? Then if this is democracy and we are scared to take steps forward to examine the games, if we will, then definitely this is a country that I believe is doomed. I am particularly believing that it is time for any person, he or she or they, who believe they are patriots, should come forward, take a step forward, hold hands together, and then hand Nigeria back with a course to be designed out of patriotism as a country that God has sent us to rescue. To me, I see serving Nigeria exactly as part of worship, because any positive step, positive action is saving souls, and saving souls is part of worship. That's why soldiers, ancient or modern, so long they stand to defend their country, there are numerous offenses God Almighty will waiver upon them. So that's why it's an opportunity to say, I am a soldier. Because the nobility you talk about in mankind from any profession started with soldiering. That's why Muslims should understand that Prophet Muhammad was a soldier. So to those who condemn military from the point of view of those who are rotten from the military, that's a direct condemnation of all. They are doing it out of knowledge. Those who use the opportunity given in the military or by being professional soldiers and then wrecking the country are people who are on their own, but has nothing to do with the nobility of the profession called soldiering. Judiciary is second, but it comes from the roots, from the environment called Nigeria. The judiciary in Nigeria believe nobility is in judiciary because it is faulty in Nigeria, and that is true. Now, here we are today. I'm talking from the responses of the chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, take note of this strange occurrence. I was a candidate of Action Alliance, an active campaign period, only for me to be in this same headquarters as a candidate, to sit with the chairman when I have an opposition candidate from the same party, and we discuss Nigeria and Nigerian state and the way forward in salvaging this country sincerely. It doesn't matter to me which party he is into. It doesn't matter which platform he decides to sit. The reflections I see in him, his character, his reliability, his dependability, the exemplary friend and brother I see in him speaks. That's why to me, it is shallow-minded to say a person cannot interact, cross boundaries with other political parties, all in the name and interest of Nigeria. Those who believe being in another party and then not interacting with the other party, these are the liabilities in politics, who are shallow-minded, who should not be relied upon. Unfortunately, these are the ones presenting or directing political leadership in our country thus far. To us, this generation, and I'm talking sincerely, it's time to draw a line. Our elders must go on holiday. Political holiday. This is a statement they don't want to hear. But I sat down to say, evaluating Nigeria's generational movement, generational age, has actually presented the age bracket to be seen to be part of the faults that has retarded us. And we cannot continue this way. With honor, with respect, with culture that we are known with as Africans, as Nigerians, we will approach some of them. Go and climb the tower of wisdom. Stay there with honor, and your dignity and respect will be respected and be honored. And allow this generation to determine the future. Because we are today shamefully seeing numerous countries that are far less than Nigeria taking giant strides in developmental growth. And they are being counted within Committee of Nations around the world. And here we are, Nigeria, every fiscal year, you come up with humongous budgets that has no meaning with our developmental growth, has no meaning with our future, with our values. To me, that is scary, where you allow an environment that some people will use a yardstick of stealing and having bulgy pockets as the means of determining the future of Nigeria. As people, we must respect. It is painful and it is unacceptable, morally, socially, legally. You cannot continue to respect a thief that is known that he's a thief. You cannot respect those who kill your institutions. You cannot respect people who comes to the fore to say they are the institution of your country. You cannot say in this modern time that there are emperors who determines your constitution. They are the institutions, they are the arms of government in your country. In fact, they are your future. And when you see them, you salute them because they have stolen what you don't have. Because they have taken away what you are supposed to utilize as a right or as of right as citizens. And whenever they decide to sprinkle a little, you go scavenging for it and believing that you are useless and they are everything. Whosoever, it does not matter his status, eulogizes, respects, destroyers of your country as the kings of your country, then definitely you who has done that, you are totally doomed. You, morally speaking, legally speaking, you know you have lost it in this war. But remember, God will ask you. He sent you forth to the world with your respect, with your values intact, of dignity and of rights, to be protected and to be enjoyed as a citizen. That's why you are a human being. But when you come to the world, because you are settled with poverty, from misrepresentation of the same class of people, now you decided to say your future is hopeless, and all you have to do is to beg them to give you. And as and when they wish to dish it out, you take. And you have decided to say they own everything and you are nobody. Such souls are regrettable on earth and hereafter. To me, by culture, spiritually by my faith, legally by my law and laws of God Almighty, I am far from being one. And I'm calling on Nigerians, particularly those who don't have, to know that in every environment, God Almighty, irrespective of how hopeless the environment is, has kept so many secrets, if only you can open your eyes and see. There is so much. But the problem with all of us is speed of scavenging for money and doing nothing with our strategic thinking or planning or investment in looking at the future. In the immediate future, if only we can change the tide of rigging, the tide of abuses, the tide of subjecting our laws to be meant for money, the tide of rigging, eulogizing rigging and upholding rigging and riggers. If only we can stand by the law and be honest and be just, this country will change. The whole world will come here from the little we know of Nigeria. But how come that we are here on dirty routines that has no meaning? Routines without meaning are what we have embarked upon for decades and decades. I will say this a little concerning late Chief M.K. Abiola, because in his political thinking and political destiny, this was the platform he utilized. And many people, particularly those who persecuted him, they did not know his words. I didn't want to talk about this other than the fact that one of our brothers has raised this. There was nothing on earth I didn't do for late Chief M.K. Abiola to accept conditional bail, to go home, adjust. Because right from there, he understood some of his enemies from within his team. But whenever they come to the television and radio, they sing a different song. That's why on one of the occasions, when late Chief M.K. Abiola was brought back to Abuja from Gasho, I played a role that was not my own. I did all I could to make sure he was moved from the hands of the police. I know how much blackmail I received. He was moved to the guest house of Secretariat of the Government, and it was deliberate for him to be informed of happenings so that he could take the conditional bail, go home, regroup, and come. But many of his visitors were coming to tell lies to him, that Ore Ona can come for in Yoruba land by culture and by history never withdraws. In your mandate we stand. But you see, I'm just talking like this time around. The question is, do I have evidence? Yes. One time I said to many parrots who came singing on the streets as the best of the best, as the best moral statesmen they thought they were. So all I said is, remember, all the visits you paid to late Chief M.K. Abiola was captured on video, and they exist. There is the right time for the right ammunition in defense of the late Chief M.K. Abiola was a victim of a larger game compared to what Nigerians have had so far. It's a bigger game and the understanding of people. I stayed with him. I was the one that gave him. Actually, I saw Lecture writing on Quran and on Bible. He was using the pages and keeping his diary, was identifying who and who ditched him, how they ditched him, those who ditched him in Nigeria, those who ditched him in SDP, those who ditched him in business group, those who ditched him in international scene. And when I discovered how crucial and critical, and I said this to him, it is offensive in the sight of God for you to be writing inside Bible and inside Quran. So I gave him a ream of A4 papers, and he was writing smaller, conserving pages, and he wrote quite a lot. One of the most disturbing things about me is the whereabouts of the Quran and the Bible and the A4 ream of A4 papers that he wrote on. You see, Nigerians should not be quick in talking over what you know not. Many people have reacted over what they have no sight of. But I can understand. I can understand. June 12th, yes. Lecture Abiola, yes. Storytellers, yes. Script writers, yes. International dodgers, from those who ditched him, yes. International conspiracy on management of Nigeria, yes. Led Chief MK Abiola's plans for Nigeria, yes. Led Chief MK Abiola's personal differences with friends, associates, and groups, yes. Nigerians don't know anything on these questions. It doesn't matter who, what. Mr. Chairman, I'm worried at this point in time that neither the government of the day nor the private sector, including youth and women associations and groups in Nigeria, have bothered to separately or collectively come together to take an evaluation on the true state of Nigeria. Those in government will not have the nerve to do so because of the damage done. But those who care, I know, are patriots. And before you, that's why I say today is a critical day, and I do not know why we are here today, but your own invitations. And I'm sure the Honorable Chairman is seeing beyond us, because he knows the days to call us. And when those days come, some of us probably do have a code that breaks us through to now go into some certain boundaries. Ordinarily we shouldn't until campaign starts. But what we are talking about is Nigerian state that has no time, has no boundary, no demarcation by law, on social grounds, on moral grounds, or by any means, and by any person, and by any institution, or any law at home or abroad. When you are talking about your country, it is a right. When you are evaluating the state of your country, it is a right. When you are examining the damage done to your country, it is a right. When you are focusing and making plans for your country to be restored within the shortest time possible, it is a right. It is in this spirit, to me, that I'm here, responding to his invitation, not only as my brother and friend, not only as a distinguished Nigerian, not only from the remarks I made. I'm going to classify him one day, the him that I know. But I'm here out of concern and worries about Nigeria. Coincidentally, the chairman and I think alike. Anytime he goes to speak on television, people will be first to call me. He has spoken. So I'm sure he has spoken my mind. That's why we have been, and I thank God Almighty. Mr. Chairman, I know who you are, and I respect you for who you are. But I am thankful for the fact that God has decided that you are the chairman of this party at this point in time of Nigeria's political journey. It has a meaning. I don't know the depth of his research in looking at himself and looking at the party and looking at Nigeria on the other hand. I do not know if he has done so. Mr. Chairman, if you do not do so, it's time for you to now go on self-retreat and then take into cognizance your character, Nigerian true state. The enemies of Nigeria who have occupied all microphones on television and radio, the enemies of Nigeria who have stolen all, the enemies of Nigeria whose hearts are dry, the enemies of Nigeria who have no sympathy for the poor, men, women, the youth, orphans, have no sympathy for farmers, for fishermen, have no sympathy for our education, for our future, no sympathy for our security, for our economical development, for our role and position in the international scene. These are the people I'm talking about. Examine yourself, the party, the true state of Nigeria versus them. And you can understand the enormous work before us. We have a work to do. It is simple, it is easy. It is difficult at the same time. It is simple and easy if only we can unite. If only you can collect whatever is given to you. Use the money. Help yourselves. Be firm, stand tall on your feet. Join hands together with the poor, with the less privileged. Number, if that is where the strength lies in democracy, then definitely you are the strongest. The thieves are few, but they are doing whatever it is formula of knowing when to spread the grains for the chicken, so that the chicken will go scavenging for, and while that is going on, it is already Christmas. Many will leave the earth because they are caught in the act as poor chicken. We have all it takes to tell ourselves the truth. I'm here before you, Mr. Chairman, sincerely believing that in the qualities in you, this country will prosper if only people will be given the chance to bring the right candidates at all levels, from local government, states, and to the federal level. I know if we share common ideology, common blueprints, I swear, against Nigeria, and the understanding of Nigerians in a game that you talked about, voters apathy in Nigeria. That is something the party or other parties that I am calling upon using this medium to please understand that there is no competition in a game called losing the power. If you know you are not prepared, I'm respectfully calling on all other parties to come together and have discussions as brothers and sisters for the interests of Nigeria, Nigerians, and Nigeria and Nigerians, and then the future of Nigeria. We should come together and understand that is the synergy, and the code for success is there. The time to retire the enemies of Nigeria and Nigeria's future is through this means. And the time to understand and keep away barriers and ambitions of all kinds, and to know that through individuals, we can come and dust off different researches by different groups, different knowledge and wisdom given to people. If only we can harness it, this country will be a force to reckon with in the shortest time possible. There are issues concerning Nigeria's resources I don't even want to talk about, because the thieves in Nigeria, they understood and invested everything in two issues only. Some of them, out of some careless talk, some of us did, are busy into solid mineral resources. But the only language they can understand is investing in oil and gas. If they are given 1 billion barrels to manage, They take the allocation and give it to the international termites, who comes to be taking it in thousands, only to be given Nigerian termites 2, 3, 4. But the termites Nigeria are busy sinking and rubbing their shoulders, believing that they have it all. So you see, if we don't step forward and utilize the strength in us and ask our elders to retire and to guide us if they can, if they will, if they may wish to do so, or to retire seeking for forgiveness from God Almighty throughout the remaining parts of their lives. It's offensive for me to tell them, but it's a fact, looking at it from the point of view of God Almighty. And when you are speaking the truth, you should know that you will be hated. I love to be hated speaking the truth. And I will never shy away from Southern Nigeria. Those who hate us should understand that if they are carrying hammer yesterday to ambush us, they should better get a bigger weapon, because we will be moving. And movement we shall, all for Nigeria. Mr. Chairman, there are other numerous resources God has endowed Nigeria with. That's why the international termites have classified Nigeria with a code that I talked about in a forum called 360 plus. The word 360 plus are volumes of documents, but it's just called 360 plus. And that's their evaluation of a country called Nigeria. And they are concerned that this country that God has decided to create us as Nigerians, we don't even know the value of who we are as citizens in a country called Nigeria. So how can we be classified as elites? And we are only floating in a country, and in most cases coming to be single literature given to us by these same countries, and dominating the environment against patriots who don't have money. The patriots are the majority that I know of, but they don't have the money to come to the center stage. That equation has to change, and we have the means. I am speaking before you this way is because of the honor and respect to you as the chairman of this party. I believe the common thoughts we share and the understanding that when the time comes, we shall have an assemblage of real like minds, men and women from across Nigeria and those in the diaspora, including our sisters and brothers with disability. We shall hold hands together to know that demarcation will come. And I bet you, when that is done, when the blueprint is unveiled, the world will come here to serve. In 1972, many Nigerians know not, when they discovered the volume and quantity of oil and discovered the traces of gas in Nigeria alone. That time, Nigeria was not classified 360 yet, but they agreed. They agreed to be coming up with budgets from their pockets to make sure Nigeria is halted from growth to a certain point. That is to say, in the life of Nigeria, sabotage has been on, and sabotage sponsored, including in our media, in our education, in our military, in training, in concept, in doctrine, in psychological warfare, of sending fears to leaders, privately or openly, as the case may be, where some certain policies must not come to fruition in Nigeria. It started from 1972. I hope the elite will understand. If it is money you are looking for, when we hold hands together, and because they become the managers of our resources, this country has more than what you can understand. If it is opportunity you are looking for to compete in the international scene, in meeting with the international community, in providing leadership to the world, that platform is Nigeria. If you want to interact from the intellectuals from across Nigeria, already Nigerians have been classified among the very best in the world. The platform is Nigeria. What is missing here is leadership. Unfortunately, the leadership in Nigeria has been the center of the international termites attack with fear, with abuses, with deceit. So leaders will come, occupy a position at the right time with the right resources, but at the end of the day will have nothing to offer. You will see time will go. You see budget will be spent in retrospect. When you turn, there is nothing to show. So even, I was told, even in retarded homes, so those who begin to get healed are moved to a certain category before they are properly discharged. Even in a retarded home, the worst classes will not accept to be fetching water with baskets every day. But in Nigeria, our leadership have been subjected to be fetching water with baskets. The drums are empty, Nigerians are thirsty, Nigerians are dying, no water. And yet, these are the right people we call right people. That's why I said, laws of Nigeria should be adjusted, and I'm agreeing with the chairman. If a certain pattern does not work, change it. If a leader that enjoys immunity begin to abuse his chair, he ceases to be. There are limitations in law, in every law. But in Nigeria's immunity, there is no limitation. That is corruption, that is abuse, and that is illegality. That should not hold. If you see an executive person who will say, I'm here, and I have the rights of the people to continue to abuse because I enjoy immunity, then definitely that is corruption. If there are some certain pointers in your actions and sayings, using your office, that should make you lose your seat and face the law straightforward. With these short remarks, Mr. Chairman, let me say, most sincerely, you called me here, and out of love of Nigeria, you gave me an offer. Straightforward, that is very strange. Neither the constitution of the party nor that of Nigeria that will say, come, take membership of this party as an order. I'm here on your orders. Mr. Chairman, and out of respect, I have listened to you. But before I make this last remark, on this table are personalities you may just look at this office. With all sense of humility, they have been kingmakers of many of those who are occupying, or who have occupied and are occupying executive offices in Nigeria. Their presence here, actually they came only for us to do our usual good morning Nigeria discussions. Only for it to be time for us to be before you. So I said the best thing to do, those I have discussed with can go. But those of you whom we still have issues to discuss, I think we should come before the chairman, and so here we are. You will get to know them and know the weight behind each and every one of them. I say without mixing words, they are exemplified patriots. I have seen them, I have tested them, I have seen them at work, I know who they are, before me, behind me, and I checked. And if there is any person from within the entourage that I know I have a question mark on patriotism in him, I can say it here. Because we don't need patriots, and we don't need unpatriotic citizens. It's time and the season for patriots to move. So on my membership card, Mr. Chairman, I want to seek for a favor. I want it to be done according to the provisions of the laws of the party, the laws of this country. If I am coming before and into, and to find my seat within brothers and sisters in SDP, I want to do it within the capability God Almighty has given to us with that small weight that I know. In the scale of those who have been destroying Nigeria, is weighted. When we are coming, we will come with weight. When we are sitting, we shall sit with weight. When we are standing, we shall stand with weight. And when we join hands with weights, I know the featherweight thieves of this country will know that it's time to pack out. I thank you for inviting me. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you.